Today we're going to be talking about how to find slope of a line from a graph and then again from 2 points. And these 2 points are not going to be located on a graph. So if you look at your guided note sheet or if you're just copying along with us, and we are finding slope from a graph first. So we're going to talk about this constant rate of change, and it's going to be that rise over run. So how far does it rise up in the graph and how does it run? So how much does it go up or down, and then left and right. So first you have to determine, is this slope going to be positive? If it is this way, if your graph is rising to the right, it is going to be positive. If your graph is falling or it's pointed to the left, it's going to be negative. So step 2 is to find 2 points on the line and count the distance. So how much is it rising, and then how much is it running from one point to the next. So that's going to be your change in y and your change in x. So let's look at some examples where we're going to graph some points and find the slope. So let's try number 1. We are going to graph the point 1, 2, which is going to be right here. You should go ahead and graph these with me. And then we're going to graph 3, 6. We can draw our line. And remember, our line's not going to be perfect, but we want it close. And now we want to count how many spaces. Remember, we're looking for our rise over our run. And if we look, our slope is pointing and going up to the right, so it's going to be positive. And we're going to see how many spots does it take us to get from, in our y values, from 2 to 6. And if you look, we are going to go up 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks. So we're going to rise 4 spaces. And then we want to see how many spaces, now that we are up here, do we need to go over from 1 to 3. And you can see we're going to go over 2 spaces. So our rise over run is 4 over 2, and we can simplify that by dividing each side by 2. And that's going to be 2 over 1. The biggest thing with slope is never leave it as a whole number. So yes, you could write that as 2, and it would still be the same as 2 over 1. But our slope always needs to be a rise over a run. So it always needs to be written 2 over 1 and not 2. So let's try our next one. We are going to graph the point 2, 6. And then we are going to graph the point 4, 0. Go ahead and draw your line. And if you look, our graph is pointing to the left. It's going up towards the left, so it's going to be a negative slope. So now let's look at the points in between. We are going to see from this point 4, 0, how many spaces do I need to go up to get right here? And if you look, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. So that is going to be our rise. And now from this point, we want to see how far is this line going to be. And that's going to be our run. And you can see we are going over 2 spaces. So it's a negative 6 over 2. And if we divide that by 2, we are going to get a negative 3 over 1 for our slope. Now go ahead and pause the video and try number 3 and 4 on your own. See what you get. And then you can come back and look at it with me. So we're going to go ahead and point these lines, and we are going to graph them as 8, negative 4, so that's going to be right here. And then we are going to graph it as negative 6, negative 4, and we're going to draw a line through it. Now, we need to figure out what is the slope of this. And remember, we talked about this a little bit in class today, about there are 4 different types of slope: positive, negative, 0 slope, or no slope. And if you look, to get from this dot right here to this dot, how many spaces do I need to go up? And hopefully you said 0. You should go up 0 spaces. And how many spaces do I need to go over? Well, I'll need to go over 6 plus 4 is 10. So 0 divided by 10 is going to give us that 0 slope. So our slope here was 0. Now let's try the next one. Let's go ahead and plot the points. We're going to plot the point 7, 1. It's going to be right there. And then we're going to plot the point 7, 8. And now we're going to draw our line. We're going to say how many points do I need to go in between these two. So how many places do I need to rise? I need to rise from 1 to 8. That's going to be 7. And how many spots do I need to run? So remember, this one, 7 over 0, is going to be no slope. Because 7 divided by 0 you can't do. So you're going to have no slope. Now we're going to talk about finding the slope between 2 points. So you're not given a graph, you're just given 2 points, and they want you to tell them what is the slope. So we're going to use a formula. And our formula for that, we're going to just pick 2 points. So I'm going to use a point 1, 3, and 7, 6. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to give these some variables. So our x value for this one, we're going to call it x1, which is the 1. And for coordinate 2, it's going to be x2. And then our y value, y1 and y2. And so now I'm going to show you the formula. We just have to plug in the numbers, and we'll be able to find the slope really quickly. So our formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And you can see that because when you're calculating your y values, that's going to be how much you are going to rise, the difference between the y values. And when you're calculating the difference between the x values, that's going to be your run. So we can go ahead and practice this with this practice problem that I have. So we can plug it in. And we're going to say y2 is 6 minus y1, which is 3. And then x2 is 7 minus x1, which is 1. So 6 minus 3 is 3. 7 minus 1 is 6. Now remember, we always have to simplify, so we're going to divide both of these by 3. And we are going to get 1/2. So our slope between those points is going to be 1/2. Now let's try these two together. We have 19 over 16 and negative 7 and negative 15. So let's go ahead and label them x1, y1, x2, y2. And don't forget the sign. Some of these are negative, so you need to carry it over. So you're going to have negative 15 minus 16 over negative 7, that's x2, minus x1, which is 19. So negative 15 minus 16 is going to give you negative 31. Remember those integer rules, change opposite, so you're actually adding negative 15 and adding negative 16. And then you have negative 7 minus 19. Again, change opposite, negative 7 plus negative 19 is negative 26. Now we want to see, can this be simplified? Which is what we want to know. And it cannot. So we can either keep it as negative 31 over negative 26, but a negative over a negative is going to give us a positive. So 31 over 26 is going to be our slope. All right, let's try the next one. Let's go ahead and label again x1, x1, y1, x2, y2, and let's plug them in the formula. So y2 minus y1 is negative 7 minus negative 19. And then we want x2 minus x1, so negative 2 minus 1. Now we're going to rewrite this one a little bit to make it easier. So remember, keep change opposite, so negative 7 plus is the and opposite is going to be 19. Negative 2 plus negative 1. So negative 7 plus 19 is going to give you 12. Negative 2 plus negative 1 is going to give you negative 3. So 12 divided by negative 3 is going to give you negative 4 over 1. Now go ahead and pause this and try these two on your own, and then come back and we'll do them together. Alright, so let's label them. We have x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's plug these into our formula. So y2, which is negative 8, minus y1, which is 7, over x2, which is 2, minus a negative 4, because that's x1. So negative 8 minus 7 is negative 15. And then 2 minus negative 4. Remember, that's keep the 2, change to addition, and then opposite. So it's 2 plus 4 is going to be 6. So our slope here is you're going to go up negative 15 and over negative 6. But we can reduce that by 3, which is going to be negative 5, 2. So now let's try the next one. We have x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2, 16 minus y1, which is negative 8, over y2, which is 9, minus 20. So 16 minus negative 8 is 24, because it's keep, change to a plus sign, change, so it's 16 plus 8. And then 9 minus 20 is going to be negative 11. And you cannot simplify that because 11 is prime, so that is going to be your slope. So now I want you to complete your Google assessment. You're going to have to take the 2 points that they give you and find the slope. Make sure you bring your work and your answers to class so we can check it tomorrow.